Good morning all, my name is Alex, and in this short video we'll describe how we implemented ChatGPT API as a part of Azure OpenAI Studio. So here we are in the GitHub of Azure EmbodiedAI sample Unity application. The initial implementation of ChatGPT functionality, which we did ourselves based on the GPT-3 playground and completion endpoint, included the sample conversation class. And then we basically composed our prompt, a desired prompt, from the context that we defined, as well as from the prompt string. Then we basically composed this as described right here. Now, with the availability of ChatGPT API in Azure OpenAI Studio, we can do this using native API. So if we look at the playground for ChatGPT, you can see there's a GPT-3 initial option for the playground, and then there's a new ChatGPT option available on the left pane. You can define a system message, which serves the purpose of the context. You can also have a chat session, basically testing your interactions with the assistant. And then you have several parameters that you can apply to your API, which includes maximum response, temperature, top P, stop sequence. And then there's a session settings, which includes past messages included. So this defines the size of the memory for the assistant as you go through the chat session interaction. So how many messages total will be included in the history, in the memory of the assistant, so assistant will remember. So let's just dive deeper into the session settings for a second. And we'll just take a look at how this past messages included setting manifests itself. So on the left hand side, I have like a short memory. I have 2 messages included only. And then on the right hand side, I have a longer memory, which is maximum up to 20 messages included in the memory of the system. And then you can see here, I was asking up above, I was telling the assistants that my name is Alex, and like I was going through the chat interaction. At some point, I was asking, do you still remember my name? And then because the memory is short, the system doesn't remember my name by now. And then as opposed to this, if you include a longer memory, then which is 20, and I'll just make sure that you can see, yeah, right here. That's 20 right here. If it's a longer memory, then I was going through the same interaction, and at some point, I was just basically asking the same, do you still remember my name? And the assistant is remembering my name just right. So that's just an illustration of how this past messages included, short memory versus long memory works. And then ultimately, in terms of like if you want to consume it, this is just an example of consuming the same API, ChatGPT API inside of Postman, right? So you have a post request, you produce the prompt, which by the way, you can very quickly get to the code the same way as in GPT-3 playground by clicking view code, and then you copy this code, and then just don't forget the new line at the end of this right here. And then you can see like what model is being used and what completions will be generated for the request that you submit. Now let's take a look how this works in Unity. So here's our Clippy character. We have modified for the purposes of the demo. We have modified the state graph a little bit. So if I show you that state graph, we basically created a quick shortcut from greeting all the way to fun. And then inside of fun, we have implemented the new sample chat object, similar to how it used to be with the sample conversation. And what this does, it's pretty much the same idea. So you go through like your opinion messages, you create a prompt, and then you submitting this to ChatGPT sample web API, and then you receive the response, and then you log that response. So if you look at the implementation of the sample chat, it's extremely simple. So initially we had the sample conversation, which was implemented here, and the sample chat basically extends sample conversation and overrides create prompt and takes advantage of this special decoration for the start of the chunk and the end of the chunk. And then ultimately it's still two lines of code that do all the magic. And then you can see that there's a system message gets included. That's the context. And then for each turn, there's a user and assistant interaction. So now if we launch this demo, and you will see we'll generate one completion through ChatGPT, and we'll just output this in the log. So let's see how this works. And here we are. So we just generated through the script graph, we generated one completion, and you can see how it looks like. So basically, we output in that we submitted system the definition of Clippy character, and then user was asking, "How are you?" And then the assistant said, "I'm just a text-based AI language model," and so on. So here you are, the implementation of ChatGPT API inside of our Azure Embedded AI sample Unity template. Thank you.